From
I'm
Norway.
Sylvia. Yeah, I'm Sylvia. I'm from Norway, and I work with the Norwegian game devs industry.
And as per usual, you're not just here for our pretty faces, but these beautiful, beautiful people. We have two wonderful guests tonight. And first from Sweden, we have Mariana Salimena. Please.
Hello.
Yes. The floor is yours if you want to do a little intro, talk about yourself and
Yes,
your background a little bit.
of course. So, hello everyone. I'm Mariana, and I've been living in Sweden for a while, but originally from Brazil. And I have been working as a senior concept artist in the games industry for the past maybe 6 years. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, pretty good. Pretty good. Very nice. Very nice. And then we have from Finland, we have some Sam Nasur. So the floor is yours, Sam.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Nasur. I'm a concept artist and visual development artist working in animation and games, now based in Finland. Yeah, that's me.
Short and sweet. Very Finnish of you. Nicely done.
Very Finnish, yeah. Getting into the culture, yeah.
Okay. So as mentioned, the topic of today or tonight is concept art. So let's get conceptual, baby. So maybe in the beginning we could have a really quick intro in what is concept art, because it's pretty straightforward. But just in case, if you guys want to say like your like a in a nutshell, what is concept art and what is it used for?
Oh.
Mariana, you're smiling a lot. It feels like you want to go.
I'm like laughing because that is sometimes a question that I don't know the answer yet. Because like everything in the games industry, it depends. It depends on where you're working on and etc. And I think like concept art is actually one of the roles that is mostly dependent on the studio and on the project that you're working on. But for my personal philosophy on the role, it is about turning abstract ideas into concrete things. And through this process, you kind of unify the vision of everyone who's working on the project. So you have a concrete thing to discuss and not everyone thinking about what their own ideas are.
Very nice, very nice. Sam, is
Yeah,
do you want to add something?
I agree with this. Yeah, concept art is a bit of a broad term. It covers so many different things, and it changes based on the project and the industry. Like animation concept art is a little bit different than game concept art. And people can specialize in vehicles. Some other people can still be concept artists but just do character work, so it's a very broad term. But I agree with Mariana, is that it's about creating like translating some brief or some idea into visual content and share it with the art directors, the team, and decide if this works with the project or not. And why do we choose option A versus option B? So it's more like that visual communication. You want to create multiple different ideas and share them with the team visually in a way that can be explained. Like if it's a machine, for example, you want to explain it a little bit how it works. Depends on what kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty much that visual communication, I think. Yeah.
Visual communication. That's a really, really good. Nice.
So can I ask, how did you how did you both end up working as concept artists? Sam?
I think I just had a lot of love for storytelling, and I really loved drawing as growing up. So all kinds of movies, like animated movies, especially, that I was really into watching, and just fascinating with the idea that you can draw something and make it move, and the process that goes into that. So I think that was my initial spark, So I wanted to create my own characters at some point and learn some 3D later. It was just a joy to turn a concept into something that people can appreciate. Maybe could be animated by somebody else, or could be integrated into some story. So I think that love, that passion, I think drove me into that path, and I wanted to apply for art courses, and also I started to, for example, apply for first, I wanted to make a portfolio that really can have a high standard, and then I could apply for different jobs and studios. So I really had the clarity in that for me, to go into that path.
Well, that's exciting. I have some more questions about that in a moment, but Mariana?
Yeah, so I had like a very unorthodox path. I have done a lot of different things in my life. I actually started studying law as my first university degree, which is a fun fact about me. But as Sam, I've always been like very passionate about drawing, art. I've always done like painting, drawing my entire life, even through law school. And then I dropped out to go to art school, and I got a degree in fine arts, became kind of a painter, worked with illustration first. So I worked mostly in editorial, magazines, newspaper, children's book, that stuff. And then I felt like it was reaching almost like a breaking point for the editorial industry. And I was like, maybe I should start working on something else. Started doing indie development. And then I fell in love with this like field of concept art. I was like, oh, I am a painter. Maybe I can apply that into games. And that's how I got like my first breakthrough in the industry.
So, oh, sorry, there's a bit of background noise. They decided right now to do drumming right outside my window, and it's
I
open,
don't
so
hear it, so that's good. Maybe
apologies.
that I don't hear it.
Oh, fantastic. Then Discord
Yeah.
is doing its job. Oh my God, it's so loud. It's so distracting. So both of you mentioned that you went through the art path. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the difference between working as a concept artist and working as an artist in the video games industry, and maybe a little bit why you decided to go one way and not the other? Sam, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Artist versus concept artist. I think artist is also a bit generic. I think in a way that you could be a texture artist, or any 3D artist, or surface artist. So it's also covers a lot of things that are not purely concept art. And for me, those are a bit technical. They could be technical, of course. Like artists can also paint backgrounds in films, so that's not technical. That's beautiful and very hands-on and artistic. But I don't know. For me, it was more. I started with characters mainly, and that lends itself to concept art, creating character designs and maybe visual storytelling, concept art or color keys. They call them color keys for film or something. So you want to tell the mood of this film or this shot or something, can indicate the lighting setup or what kind of time of day. So these things that I really like are all in the category of concept art, I think, or visual development. So that's what I love versus the technical aspect, or maybe more traditional painting that I'm not really experienced with so much. So I'm more into a very specific kind of thing that I could say more fits within concept art. Yeah.
Yeah, usually in games, you have this big umbrella of game art, like Sam said, and these people are working on assets that actually exist in the game. So they are making textures, models, and etc. So the actual things we see in the game. And the concept art is a field apart from that, because we're working on the background. So we're not working you don't see the things we're doing, because our work is more to help the team get to where they need. So it's everything happening behind the curtains, but it's also not the same thing as illustration, because again, illustration is a consumer or like player facing role. So you're making that material for the player. So we are like the people behind the curtains, moving the things that you're never gonna see.
Mm.
Can I delve a little deeper? Do you? I assume a big, not an artist myself, to preface this with, but compared like a concept artist and a regular artist, I'd assume that the concept artist has also a lot more freedom to do kind of their vision, instead of, as a regular artist, you just sort of follow the concept art that has kind of put the groundwork. And does that affect a lot kind of the work, or like does it change the vibe of the work a lot?
Maybe, yeah. I think like in early stages of any project, I think that's the time when concept artists have a lot of freedom, because again, like that's when the ideas are the most abstract. So you have a really long, large threshold of ideas to explore, and then you get like, ooh, we can really go crazy here, do everything we want. And as the project starts like moving on to like production, post production, then it starts narrowing down together with everyone else. But just the fact that you're working with painting and drawing, I think that's a way more free way to work than if you're doing like 3D, because it's very
Mm.
technical, as Sam said, like very, you have a lot of like technical constraints, engine constraints as well. And then concept art, you're like, my constraint is the canvas basically, and what my imagination can can create. So it is really free.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree with that. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. I like how the normal artists are, they just like doing this thing. The concept artist is strutting and like, yeah, whatever, let's do this. Whatever.
That's like a big joke in the industry. The concept
Yeah.
art creates the impossible thing, and then the actual game artists and tech
Mm.
people have to like, oh, how are we gonna bring this into
Yeah,
reality?
it's exactly like, for example, I also studied something that is not really art related. Well, it's architecture. So I wanted to do something creative, and architecture was like the option for me that was more creative at the time. There was no animation school available. So, but the same thing applies when architects design like this crazy buildings, and they just do this weird curvatures and everything, and just go ahead, engineers. Good luck with this, you know. So it's similar with concept art and animation in a way, you know, or like
I've,
technical, artists.
I've seen it's a little bit similar. Like if you have a game designer and they come up with like a mechanic or something, and they're just like, okay, programmers, make this happen, and then
Do
they're
it,
just like,
yeah, make it happen.
this doesn't make sense. I'm like, not my problem, and I'm walking away.
Exactly.
I,
So
wa- I sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Sorry.
just wondering if there. I mean, this kind of will maybe go into other questions that we have later, but I wonder how much conflict ends up coming up from some of the art that you guys end up producing. But we can take that later.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. It will, I'm pretty sure, come up. But speaking of your kind of work, or what is a sort of normal, as normal you can have a day, normal day of a concept artist? What does it look like? What does it entail? What does it, what do you do? Sort of concrete examples of things to do. Sam, you want to start on this one?
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, also depends on what kind of studio or project, because I worked in different type of studios, different types of projects like animation, games. Now I'm working at Metacore in Finland, and it's a game studio. So we have also like our own way of to do things versus other studios. We have, for example, every morning the art team will share what they're working on, and they would have what have been updated even from yesterday. They will in the morning. This is what we've been doing. Each artist presents even like screenshot or something to keep us updated. Like I think this method helps the team stay in touch with each other. Like, oh, this is cool. I see what other people are doing at the same time. Also motivates people. So I think that's a good thing to start the day with. After that, of course, the usual meetings, and whatever happens in the morning, you want to keep up with the project. We have I wouldn't say like the day repeats itself throughout the week. Like there's always like a different things happening, different tasks that could take maybe longer. Some of them could be shorter. So it varies. But I think what helps is having a, what do you call it, like a roadmap document that all of us like have access to, and we know exactly like what tasks should, how much time should each task take, and who's working on what. So that can be also part of the day to keep checking that. See if you have any, people you want to update or you collaborate with on a specific thing, because sometimes one task takes like 3 people to work on this one alone. For example, one can do the characters, another can do the background for some illustration, for example. So that helps having that document to keep having visibility on what's going on, because it can be a bit confusing at times if you don't have that. But yeah, other than that, the day also involves doing sketches, sharing them with the art director, the art lead, sharing things on with the team as well, having feedback and also giving feedback. So the day also involves having that conversation between you and the team, giving and receiving feedback. So I think you don't want to work in a vacuum as well. You want to at least at some point share the work and receive feedback, so you can be always sure that this is what is desired for this game, for the game, or for this event in the game, or whatever. So yeah, a lot of back and forth and collaboration often.
Yeah, mine is usually similar. Like in any, I think big or small studio, it's very similar. So you have time that goes into this like more rituals of the team of like sharing what you're doing, feedbacking, reviewing, and etc. Meetings. And then you're usually part of like creative brainstorms as well when new features, like maybe there's a boss, a character, or like a gameplay feature. So you're usually there as well. So you can, again, kind of like start understanding what is this abstract idea that people want to do. You need to develop this skill. You need to read people's mind a little bit. So being present in those meetings, you get like some cues on what exactly they want. And then it's a mix of like inspiration. So I make a lot of mood boards. I try to like find inspiration on real life as well. Maybe I go out of my house to see if there's like anything interesting. Inspiration can be anywhere really, so I like not sitting in the computer all the time to find the inspiration. And then it's like drawing a lot, and I enjoy working, like figuring out the problems in my head, and then I do the rest of the process by drawing. So I don't like brute forcing it too much. So that's why I split my time a lot into this inspiration slash production process.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of communication and kind of yeah. I sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I actually think I spend more time talking to people than actually drawing, to be very honest. Because
Mm.
one thing that I learned in my time as a concept artist is that, like, sometimes people are in brainstorms and etc. They're saying like the things that they want, and then I always message them afterwards, and I was like, "So what did you mean by this?" I
Mm.
call it like rat sewers communication. So it's like, what do you actually want? So that's the moment where you start like getting like the actual vibes of what the person wants. And I find that this is very helpful. So I prefer investing the time on talking to the people than again trying to brute force a drawing.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, those infamous Slack DMs where you just what
Yes.
actually are you talking about? Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've all been there. It's also really interesting to hear like your background in law, and then and Sam had like in architecture and also just sort of animation and a quick question about like how do you feel that those obviously your past experience affects how you do and what you're doing now and what kind of person you are, but like how do you feel that those past things affect you as a concept artist? Mariana, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I am a very persuasive person, which maybe is tied to my background in law. I'm actually very good at like conflict resolution, a very
Mm.
diplomatic person, and I'm also very good at navigating politics, which is something that happens a lot if you're in a larger studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I'm a very good in those topics. On the drawing and painting itself, it doesn't help much, but it does help like navigate
Mm.
all the external factors around it.
The communication makes sense now. Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Yeah.
But
No, but really good thing, good, interesting stuff that Mariana just shared. Like I don't have that, but it's really useful to learn that as a person anyway. Like having this kind of negotiation skills and everything.
mm,
I think it's helpful in any job basically. But yeah, that's really interesting. For me, like yeah, I would say obviously the architecture for me was the connection is 3D. So when I was doing architecture in school, for example, the last couple of years, everything was like on using software for architecture that is more like CAD with computer aided design, I think, yeah, and learned a lot of like 3D rendering techniques and how to create like models and stuff. So all of that was lend itself to games in a way, like creating spaces and even building characters. Like the 3D language became really easy after that. So also thinking even when you're drawing, having 3D knowledge is good because you can already imagine your design in 3 dimensions. So I think that really helped. I would say thinking in 3D. I think thinking in a volume, thinking with volume in mind. Yeah.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, really, really interesting. Thank you. Those are good answers. Then kind of so my experience about concept art is that it's usually kind of part of the pre-production phase, pretty much, and that's it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but then my question is, and I know how you're gonna start the answer. You're gonna start the answer. Well, it depends in which studio you are, and you're 100% correct. And it also depends: are you salaried or are you a freelancer? Because there's a lot of freelancers as well. But do you guys end up doing a lot of like juggling a couple of projects at the same time while you're doing this pre-production phase or the concept artist phase? And I think Sam's turn to start.
Yeah, like currently I don't because I'm working now in-house, but I think I could say that I juggle multiple tasks at the same time. Like it's almost like a mini project within the big project. So sometimes I would do like what we call key art, which is like just getting the mood of the event and what colors we want to use, etc. And other times I would be like giving feedback on a 3D model by an outsourced studio, and that could happen in the same day even. So sometimes like we have like little mini projects within the big project that have to be tackled in the same day. So that's how it goes as far as like multitasking goes for me. Yeah.
Sounds about right. Okay, Mariana.
Yeah, I had a different experience because in my case, when I started in the studio that I am today, I was the only concept artist there, and we had 3 projects going on. So at a point, I worked on 3 projects at the same time, and then I usually split it on weekdays. So my day was like Monday I work on this, Tuesday and Wednesday I work on that, Friday, Thursday and Friday on that one. And each project was on a different stage. So one was like launching, one was I don't know like live ops, and the other was a pre-production. So in my case, I have experienced working a lot as a concept artist in every single stage of the project, because usually, as I said, like pre-production is the heaviest because you have the most like abstract things that need to become concrete. But then it becomes about supporting our direction a lot, because then things start getting made. Maybe you have like some levels, white box, some character models, and then you start like correcting. So the art director uses concept art to do paint overs, and then you start correcting this stuff to make sure you're really hitting that quality and those ideas that you had in the beginning. And then really like on the live ops stage is when it becomes less, but depends on the game again. If it has a lot of like seasonal content and stuff, then it's like mini versions of the entire process that repeats itself in a smaller time frame.
Okay. Nice, different, very different answers. Thank you. That was
And
nice.
we and so that shows how we were wrong, because when we were sitting here going like, what kind of questions? Isn't it always just in pre-production? But no, it really isn't. So
My concept artist friends lied to me. They have betrayed me.
But it
After this, I'm gonna be
depends.
calling a couple like, yo,
And
bro.
It depends.
Yeah,
S-
of course.
but it is actually really interesting because I mean I work with the Norwegian games industry and we are very heavily dominated by indie companies. So we don't have a lot of concept artists that work with the games industry only here because there are just there's not enough positions available for them to do that. So it kind of leads into my next question, or it bleeds into it a little bit, is how often do concept artists end up working on other projects? Um, do you sorry, on like with other companies that you have from your experience? Because in Norway, for example, we have very few that can work because there's just not enough money to hire somebody as a full-time position. Do you have any experience working with several companies at the same time? Mariana?
Yeah, I can start like my case because I'm coming from a different industry. I started with a full-time job and I stayed there, and
Hmm.
the industry is kind of also like collapsing now.
Mm,
So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna stay here for a bit. But as you're saying, it is like a very real thing about our role. Even big studios, if you have, I don't know, like 400 people, you're likely going to have a very small, like a handful of concept artists, unless the studio is very art focused, but most of the time handful of people. So I would say there isn't a lot of mobility. It's not like you're an engineer, so you're anytime you want you can change jobs. You kind of like depend a little bit on where you're placed, if you're willing to relocate, how is the industry, is it very indie, because if it's indie, as you're saying, it's more about like general art, you're not going to get a concept art position. So
mm,
all these factors, they influence heavily how your experience long term in the industry will be, and that's something that I was not aware when I started, and I learned it after the years. So it's a useful knowledge to spread to people who are willing to join this profession.
mm,
Okay.
yeah,
Sam?
yeah. I think similarly. I think I agree about like also where you located matters, and I I had the experience working with multiple companies for sure. When I also lived in London for a while, and I was like freelancing with different studios, and that was really exciting because you can also get to experience different types of styles with different studios, different types of commercials or TV shows or different things, and it gives you like a lot of range to experience to experiment with, you know. So that's really fun for sure. Like and also I think one aspect, like if you really want to like stay in one place, you know, you can do that, but also you have to like build a good communication, have like, you know, always reach out to people, and I think that's
mm,
also a bit of a challenge on its own. And you know, it's required still to like, you know, reach out, even though like some people like, you know, might be like, you know, I want to like I'm not good enough yet or something like that. So they stop themselves from reaching out to people or studios or something. So you don't have to have the most amazing portfolio to reach out. I think just professional looking and you know, represents your style and your skills. And yeah, I know a lot of people who just like don't have that courage maybe. So maybe what helped me is like to kind of like get rid of that and you know, mentality in a way, and reach out to people and send emails, and this is how I think it helped to build that connection. Yeah, I think it's important to freelance when you're doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. I was honestly very curious because from the Norwegian perspective, how they feel when they're working in the industry.
Mm.
Um, so can I ask something somewhat related, but how often do you as concept artists, or do you as concept artists ever go into the role as working as an artist on a project? Like when we were talking about like technical aspects of it, like 3D art or lighting, do you ever end up working on that side of things, or do you get to work on concept art throughout the project? Sam?
Do I work well? in our roles right now, it's a bit like we managed to make it very specific in a way. So I'm a visual development artist mainly, and that's how, for example, like if there's like a 3D something, like something that's too technical, I could do it, but it would take me 2 weeks versus a specialized 3D artist that can do it in like 2 days or 3 days. I don't know. So I could do that, but also it takes me longer. So that's why I think we managed to like successfully have specialized people for specialized roles. It doesn't mean that we cannot like overlap if we need to, but it's maybe nicer to, each of us is like, skillful in their field. So in a way, like I don't right now, even though I love that technique. Like sometimes I like to, in my free time, experiment with Blender, or do some like Substance Painter on my own time. It's just like to get to know that and experiment with it because it's really fun. But I wouldn't do it on a job, so much. It's not really my focus right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mariana?
Yeah, I have done before game art. I recently did a bit of game art, so like 3D models, texturing for the game I'm working on. I've done a bit of illustration as well. Sometimes it's needed, just like a quick thing. I don't know, like Steam badges or something like this. Sometimes the small things like this they fall through the cracks, and then you get the opportunity to like, yeah, let's do something a little bit more different. But as Sam said, it's more common that if you're working on a larger studio, the roles are very specialized. So this doesn't happen a lot unless you are interested in learning something, and that's usually very encouraged in the games industry. So that's like when I was doing the 3D, I wanted to know the full pipeline, have a bit of Unreal experience as well, and then people encouraged me to do it a bit. But I mean, I really like concept art in the end of the day. The only thing I'm never gonna touch is programming. That is never gonna happen for me.
That's a
I
whole
feel
another
you.
beast.
We're
Yes.
purists, just art.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
I, I
canvas,
haven't. Yeah,
brushes.
I haven't touched like code in 4 years, and my life is infinitely better for it. Oh God,
Mm.
so I feel you. You
Not
know.
to get into AI, but I heard an interesting quote recently. That's I don't know who said it. One of those like top AI companies, like CEOs or something. Like the future programming language is English, and I think that's an interesting interesting quote, because at some point in the future, AI will allow you to like use just words to program something. Like, why should we do like slash dot some like weird syntax to say I want this character to do this, for example, for the sword. So if you communicate in that English kind of like way, when how we usually think and everything, maybe that could open the door for people like us to program something. I don't know, but that's in the future.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting talk. We have that as one of our last questions of the day, because that's going to take that's going to be a longer conversation. So,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
good to
For
start
sure.
it here. So can I ask, just really, really quick, but just as a little flavor, do you ever notice that some of your projects that you've worked on in the past influence the projects you are currently working on, or other projects that you're working on in your art? Since you usually work on, I mean, you both mentioned working on several projects at the same time. Do you ever notice that they overlap, that they influence each other?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I think like as an artist, you are the culmination of everything you've done before. So it's always gonna be like piling up inside of your artistic mind as experiences, as like developing your own aesthetic, your taste, your skill. So I can't like pinpoint exactly like, oh, I can see definitely this influence from this specific project. But for example, now that I'm working as concept artist on Minecraft, my perspective, like freehand perspective skills, they have gone over the roof because I draw blocks all day. So that's definitely gonna appear again in the future if I need to do something perspective is gonna be like, yeah, just channeling this Minecraft energy here.
Interesting. Wow, yeah. It's like you put this freehand stuff like on hold for now. Just perspective now, yeah. Blocks. Interesting though,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, similarly for me, I think Yeah, I think previous projects also, like, I think I worked a lot in animation in the beginning, and like also in my personal work, I wanted to create something that looks more like, I don't know, I love the style of Disney and Pixar, and also wanted to push proportions in my own characters, create some weird creatures sometimes, like, but in all of them, all in line with this kind of I would say like friendly type of designs that are not like, so in my style, for example, I don't do anything like horror or gore or something like super realistic. So I think that's in a way shaped my taste, and from project to project, I would choose them based on that, actually. So I wouldn't, for example, apply for a studio that is like doing more like grunge stuff, or more edgy, maybe not so much, like I would choose them based on my taste that I've developed from different projects and my own personal work as well. So yeah, more in that, I would say, yeah, more in that line. Yeah.
It's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Oh,
Sorry,
go
let's
on.
just add a little thing. It's interesting. One thing about me, I never do concept art looking stuff for my personal work. My personal art looks completely different.
Mm.
It's almost as if I have like split personality.
Mm.
But I do recognize like some things bleeding out on that. Like it is very abstract ways to like bleed out. So maybe I do shapes very like chunky because of Minecraft. Like everything's very chunky and blocky. You don't do like a lot of, you don't have small details. And I notice that translates when I'm doing my very abstract, like South American folk art, personal art. I notice I make very chunky shapes now. So there's like a very interesting correlation there that happens.
Interesting.
I think so bringing that up, and especially because Sam mentioned sort of gore and sort of horrific stuff, and I remember Callisto Protocol, this sort of Dead Space-esque horror game, sci-fi horror game. So the very, very gory, and I remember reading this article about the artists having like a slight form of PTSD from doing so much research and working with that stuff. So like I can imagine that it not only does it bleed into your art and stuff, but like if you work with gore for and like intense pictures and stuff for, I don't know, like half a year, it would be weird if it didn't affect you somehow or didn't seep
True.
in
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And some people are naturally drawn to that. Yeah. And they would not be able to do anything like cartoony. Like they just want to always do the most like interesting / horrifying creatures. Yeah. So it's also like it's an amazing thing, on its own, and like it depends on what kind of project. It's obviously like the most suitable thing is to be doing creatures on that level. Yeah. So I think in a way, like, yeah, you don't really want to be doing both. I think I don't know many good people who do like really the most friendly, cartoony, like Mario stuff, and at the same time like The Witcher.
Yeah.
So at some point, yeah, you want to be a bit more like you want to take one path in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually say like you should have a threshold.
Yeah,
Inside
that's
this
a good answer. Yeah.
inside this very like
Mhm.
giant
Yeah.
realm of things you can do, you usually have a threshold. Because yeah, like
True.
if sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna work on I'm gonna make AAA portfolio, and then I draw a gun and it's like pew, pew. And I literally cannot do this stuff. And I have developed way too much like aesthetic towards making things a bit cuter and like friendlier as well, that I literally cannot do that.
Yeah. I
But
think
I also,
threshold. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
I remember the funny anecdote because I had a friend when I was in game art school, and she was like the cutest person on earth, but all she did was gory. And one day she said like, "Oh man, if you look at my Google image search history, you would die because it's just like gore accident pictures, like natural disaster pictures." And I was like, I could never do that
That is
ever.
rough. That
Oh,
is rough. Yeah. I remember hearing also like a lot of authors who are doing like, I don't know, or something. So a lot of their Google search like how to get rid of a body, how to hide
Oh,
trees
yeah.
with food, and like it's super stuff.
Yeah.
Quick question about kind of working with your colleagues and in a team. So what would you say would be really good and or important things to know about the work of a concept artist or working with a concept artist? Like, or okay, put it this way: what do you want your colleagues to understand about your work? Yeah, Mariana, was it?
Yeah, I can start. There's something that I always tell people that for them it's really hard to understand is that it's okay to throw my work away. Sometimes
Oh.
they feel like, oh, this is so precious you did. I
Mm.
was like, I literally did that in 30 seconds. And they have it, which is really nice of them. Like they have a lot of respect and care for the stuff I do. But I tell them, I remind them, my work is also to find the things that we don't want to do. So this, even if we're like throwing away, it means that I'm succeeding at my job. So don't feel bad about that. And the other thing I would say is that like we work a bit fast. So sometimes people throw some ideas on me, and then 2 hours later I come with a lot, and they're like, "What?"
Mm.
I was not. They feel pressured. So
Mm.
sometimes I try to keep the pace as well with them, but it's also good for them to know like it goes a bit fast.
Okay, it's interesting. Interesting, good answers. I did not. Yeah, that's a good point about throwing away stuff, and it's
Yeah.
still being a good thing. Sam?
Yeah, interesting what Mariana said. I think it applies as well. For me, also, I would expect a bit of. I think that also builds when you work with the team a little bit longer. I would expect a little bit of like, okay, for example, when you share a sketch, which is really rough usually, I would expect people not to, for example, like give loads of feedback immediately because it's still in development. So maybe just about, is this the right direction we want? Instead of getting too, nitpicky right in the first stages, right? So the concept art process, like also, yeah, like it's iterative. Is that the word?
Yeah,
Yeah,
iterative.
iterative.
Iterative, yeah. So it's like multiple steps. So you want to also get feedback. And the amount of feedback should be also equal to the amount to where you are in the project. Yeah. So I think that's what you can expect from people who are, working with you as a concept artist. What else?
I think that's a very valid what you said. Like sometimes
Yeah.
people really like giving feedback, which is great. But sometimes I have to like remind them like feedback is to help us get somewhere. It's not just like let's share all the commentaries we have in the world to this person who's then gonna be very overwhelmed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trauma dump. Boom. Yeah.
Now
Fair.
fix.
Yeah. Okay, those were good answers. Like, and I think, I think those would, I would hope people would hear that and then make your life a little bit easier in the future, and people who are entering the industry will kind of maybe your new Mariana, your next coworker will come and be like immediately, no, throw it away, just no shame, just go crazy.
Let's go, man.
Yeah.
Thick
But
skin.
yeah, for sure. So we have a question here that we've kind of answered, but I think this is a little bit more for or Sam has a little bit more to say than Mariana. We're happy to hear your thoughts as well, but maybe because Sam has worked in animation, like pure animation, pure like you know what I mean, animation and not game animation. So like, what was the biggest difference between working in game and animation?
I think the nature of the two industries are like demands a bit of a different workflow in a way. Like the animation, for example, like work on a film or a TV series it ends when the production ends on that project. Like you do the film, you do the designs, and it's finished, and people watch it. The game has more momentum, and it continues even after it's out, of course. Like the game, obviously, also I'm talking about like specifically mobile games, because some AAA games are also like rarely. They of course like have DLCs at some point, but mobile games have lots of like events, and some kind of like upgrades, like they happen often and require art that is consistent on a consistent basis. So I think that's a difference that I could clearly I could clearly notice between the two. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
There's
Yeah.
something else as well that I usually say, even though I haven't worked in animation, there's a huge difference in that animation you're controlling what the viewers see. So you have like there's like a
Oh, yeah.
canvas there in your TV and you're watching what people it's been framed for you. And when you're working in games, you're kind of like creating that environment in which people will do their own thing. So there's like some part of it is left for the player to do, and you lose a bit of control, which is a very interesting experience. So that also creates differences in the work itself.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. Yeah, very true.
I just to add to that, because that is a very good point. I remember I went to the Nokia labs at one point, and they were working on this. Well, essentially, it was a ball with like a billion little cameras, so I was doing like a 360 footage, and they did they got a director and a script writer, and they did like a short, I don't know, 10-minute whatever short film, and apparently it was super difficult to design all the sets and everything, so that because then people could watch it and then they could be like, oh, something happening there, but like weird. And then just sort of like really difficult to keep the person to watch what's happening. And I think the same applies to games,
Exactly.
games a lot. So cool, yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
very good. Okay. Next question. I think Sylvia has something coming up.
Well, yeah, I thought this was one that you wanted to take, Hal, but I'm going to do this because we were both like, who's going to get to ask this question, because we both really wanted to. But what is your most memorable project that you've ever worked on as a concept artist, and why was it memorable? Sam, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah, most memorable project. It's a hard question to answer. Yeah, there's so many like cool things, cool projects I was fortunate to work on. I would say one of them is working on Paddington Bear. It's a British TV show, this famous bear, but it's an animated project, so it's a preschool version of the movies, right? So and it was done in London. I was working at Blue Zoo at the time. Blue Zoo is an animation studio in London, and the style of that project is really unique in a way that they wanted to create something that looks like stop motion and has this handcrafted look to it for the characters and the environments, like a bit of this drawn lines in the backgrounds. And so the art style is really memorable and very appealing in a way. So I'm happy I worked on that one. Also, like working right now at Metacore Merge Mansion. Merge Mansion is a very cool mobile game, and I love the characters, and it's still like working on it, but I would say it's one of those memorable projects that so far I'm working on. And Angry Birds Journey. So lots of those cool, kind of like iconic looking like games that have like identity as well. Like they have a visual identity to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I would say when I worked on a Minecraft update, maybe it was like a couple years ago when we did 2 characters, the Warden and the Axolotl, and it was like one of the first times we're going to like actually show concept art to the community, and the community of Minecraft is massive. And like I don't have social media, and then my friends were saying like, oh, people are posting that on Reddit, everyone's talking about it. I was like, I don't want to know it. And then and then my friend said like there's a bunch of like Rule 34 versions of it now, and I was
Oh
like,
no. Oh no.
oh my god, that was so
Oh.
funny, and it was so memorable to me. I was like, I couldn't, I never put any content there that would be any like sexy.
Oh no.
But still,
Internet
the
will ruin anything.
internet took charge of it, and it was so amazing to see what people did. I was
That's
like
very
honestly
memorable.
impressed. Very memorable.
Yeah.
I mean, in one way, as Sam was saying, like iconic character, like not a lot of people have created something. People have made Rule 34 out of. So like that's
Yeah,
something
big
Well,
achievement
I guess.
there. Big
you'd
achievement.
be surprised, yeah. You'd be surprised what they've done, yeah.
Oh
That's
man,
also
I've
I
seen
true.
don't
some
want
fan
to know
art.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen some fan art.
I will say
Couldn't hide.
because Sam was talking about like kind of having like a very unique sort of identity, and this has stuck with me for ages. I don't know if you guys know Salad Fingers or David Firth and his like creations. Okay, your faces tell me everything you don't know. It was
Apparently,
like
yeah.
this early Flash animations with like a very
I remember.
unique style. Oh yeah, Sylvia.
Mm.
Yeah, you're a real one. There we go.
Mm,
So
fingers.
if I tell you to go watch Salad Fingers now, it's not gonna. It's you're gonna be like, what the hell?
Oh,
But it was a different time when it came out, and it had like this squiggly line that lived all the time a little bit. Like it has like a very unique look to it, and I
interesting.
think you're absolutely correct. And most of the kind of unique characters or games, they usually have a very strong identity. So I think.
Yeah, that's what makes them memorable, and in a way, like, yeah, like for example, what makes a character cosplayable, if you want, if you will, like,
Yeah,
why?
that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, like, doesn't cannot be generic, right? Like, so
Yeah,
that's what makes it memorable for people. Like, what kind of thing distinguishes this character from some generic,
yeah.
other character? I don't know. So
That's
like,
a
you want to,
very good
yeah,
way to like think about it,
Yeah.
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about like I don't know Darth Vader, but like in an office suit and just with a like it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
hit the same. So
exactly.
Yeah.
very
Mm-hmm.
very true.
Sometimes we also think like, could this be a plushie?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
also
exactly.
about
That's
like
a good. That's another example
people
of like
want
you
that.
can,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
Why?
That's
Yeah, what makes it memorable? Even like a couple of, I don't know, like the Angry Birds is a good example because they really have nailed the simplicity in a memorable package. Like also Merge Mansion, for example, we have let's say the redhead character Maddie, and she's always, I mean, often in the yellow top with the white shirt under, sweater under, and jeans, right? And she had red hair and always like with the waves, and so it's like people can do that, can cosplay as her, and it will be clearly her, because even if she wears like winter outfit, we always try to have it yellow in a way,
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Like
So kind of like,
your
yeah.
yellow shirts. Yeah.
Often, yeah.
I would have said like the grandma who is hiding
Mhm.
something would be the more iconic. But I think you're
Also
right.
very
Like, in
iconic, yeah.
simplicity,
And
like that
Iconic.
yeah. And also you can notice like that her outfit color is often consistent, like,
Yeah.
and even in like in live action ads, like we try to maintain that like colors, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the last questions, kind of very very maybe personal one, but is there a game where you've seen concept art that kind of blew your mind, or is there a specific concept art that artist that you're kind of like, whoa, like is there? Yeah, Mariana, you wanna start this one?
I think the Arcane Studios concept team is my
Fair.
goal of
Oh.
the whole like way that Arcane Studios approaches art in their games. I think it's like a golden ideal for me, and their concept artists are all like fantastic, and it's borderline like fine art meets concept art. So that for
Yeah,
me is like the best.
really good one, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that is very good. Okay. And there's no concept artist, like a specific one that you are sort of like looking up to.
I'll look the name and I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, Sam.
Yeah. I like games that have really like strong visual direction in a way, like for example, like Ori and the Blind Forest and the two chapters, like something that really draws you in. It has lots of artistic you know mastery in a way, like they really put the effort in immersing you in this like magical forest, um the magical scenes and the moon and everything, even the music and stuff. So I love games that really put a lot of effort in the visual style and the visual storytelling. Also, like Assassin's Creed Origins, for example, is one of those like better ones that I think in the whole series, because they really spent a lot of time researching ancient Egypt and really created like a really good picture of how things were in the past, and also but in a way that also immerses you in that world artistically as well. You know, like they also, I think the rendering style, the details, it's really interesting. So yeah, I like games that obviously like have a really strong artistic quality to them.
I gotta say, like, so okay, you can think a lot of you can have many opinions about Assassin's Creed games as a game, but like they do put a lot of effort in looking into making it grounded in reality, and you with your architecture background, I'm not surprised at these games where they look into how buildings used to be and how the
that was interesting for me. Yeah. Also, like passionate about ancient history in general, so when they kind of like spent lots of time and researching and the history, you know, and finding, you know, even like like I think all kinds of statues from museums, they are in the game right now, and like they imagine how they will be in their original state, right? So it's a massive effort, and I really enjoy that.
Go on.
There's a contrapoint to that as well, because I really enjoy that, and as I said, like Arcane is all about this like very carefully researched and stuff. And sometimes I also like looking at the concept art that is very like childish and raw. If you look later at the Undertale concept, it is really fun to look at, because it's not like, whoa, concept art. It is literally like napkin sketches, but you can see it solves the problems it needs to solve. And then sometimes concept artists can get really caught on this like, oh man, my job is so difficult. I create entire universes. And you're like, bro, let's chill as well. It's just about like solving these issues here as a team. It's not about like, oh, you're the the god of the world.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I haven't seen the concept art for it, and it's very different. Like I really like Papers, Please, this game, and it's not a traditionally pretty game, but I really like the look and sound of the game. Like it really encapsulates the feeling and the atmosphere, and it works really well.
True. A really good point. Also, like the games like Limbo and Inside, I don't know if those games, like you guys know them, like you would say they're pretty simple in a way, but like they're also very well designed and, you know, artistically crafted. So I think good point there.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have a lot of viewers. I mean, because I want to just do this we only have a few minutes left. So we have a lot of viewers who are students or people that are new to the industry that are trying to look in. So I just wanted to throw out a last question, if that's okay, to ask if you have any tips or advice to somebody who would like to become a concept artist, but they don't know where to start. Mariana?
Yeah. I think my main advice is just like be free. Don't create a cage for yourself. And that means in many different aspects. Like don't create an artistic cage. Don't create like a situation in which it's going to be difficult to exit later. Be free.
Nice. Sam?
Nice, yeah. I would say also be courageous. Like I said before, like, you know, have confidence. And also, like, that helps you with, you know, the ability to kind of like reach out to people, to your, you know, senior artists or art directors, like have a bit of that courage. And also, like if you are a student, like really master the fundamentals. I know it's a boring thing to say, but like you want to know anatomy. But I would say also, like, I would add to that, find your taste as well. Like know what kind of path you want to go on, and you know, just know you yourself, know your art in a way, like know what you like, because some people like everything, and everything is interesting, but at some point you want to like ask yourself, like, what do you gravitate towards, you know, and more than other things, right? So, and that helps you find the path in a way, you know, like what kind of studios you want to apply to, what kind of projects you're interested in versus others. So it gives you a bit of clarity. But the fundamentals also do that.
Thank you so much. So we have it is 7:00, and so or in Norway at least, and we had that extra question that it was your fault, Mariana. So we're going to give this super simple answer at the end. Are you ready for this? Will
go.
AI be taking your jobs?
Oh.
Yes or no?
That's
We
a
got to
small
do this one. We got to do this one.
I will invoke my law pass and I will say it depends on what the government decides.
That is a
Wow.
nice answer.
That is
Political.
Not
And
bad.
you,
Political
Sam?
answer. I would say no.
Yeah.
It won't.
That's better.
Yeah. I feel like anyone who's used Midjourney and trying to get a picture out of it will understand that there's still a long way. Long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Before I go with my end spiel, I'm going to quickly mention that I'll send you a link, Sam, because there's a really cool video about a guy who's researched about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they made that, and then he traveled to the actual places and compares how they like. I think you might.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
My
Please
mom
do.
is calling me. Okay. So, but yes, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your wonderful answers. It's the hour just kind of flew really quickly
It
by.
really did.
This is your chance to plug whatever you want to plug yourself, plug your game, plug whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. Sam, you want to go first?
Sure. And I can just plug Instagram at SamNasArt. So SAMNASS art. And
Nice.
I do sketches there, and yeah.
We'll also make sure that these will be in the YouTube video, like that in the description.
Yeah,
Link.
yeah.
Cool. Mariana.
So I don't have any social media and I will
Oh, yeah,
leave it
nice.
as a mystery. I have a newsletter. Maybe you can find it online one day. Maybe it will find its way to you.
Wow.
Make them work for it. I like it.
Yeah.
It. Not bad. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Okay, thank you, Mariana. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Viv, our wonderful producer who makes a lot of this happen, and is behind the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes. And thank you, all you darlings out there watching this, and hopefully this cleared some concepts about concept artists. So thank you. Take care, and catch you in a couple of months.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.